Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Moxie Coaching Podcast. My name is Michelle, and I'll be your host as we explore what coaching is and how it can help you create your best life. If you're anything like me, it's important to you to give back in some way. Maybe it's volunteering in the soup kitchen. Maybe it's donating $1 million to environmental research. It doesn't really matter. I started coaching and podcasting because I'm just one person who can only do so much alone. And I realized that through coaching and through podcasting, I could help and support those of you who want to do good works and exponentially increase the amount of good that I'm able to do. So if this sounds like you, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Be well. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Moxie Coaching Podcast. This week we are going to be talking about the fours in the tarot. But before we get started, just a couple short announcements. Number one, I'm hoping that considering the crazy weather we have had, everyone is safe and warm. As I'm recording this, there's record snowfall in the south and crazy ice, and it's really bonkers. So just hoping everyone is safe and warm. Second announcement. I have revamped the website. It is much easier to navigate now. I was finally able to say goodbye to GoDaddy, and the website is now on WordPress, much more navigable, much more understandable, and it is there for your use. There are a bunch of resources on there, everything from somebody who you can sign up to take the course development bootcamp, which is sort of the other end of what I do at Moxie, course development for wellness practitioners. But you can also look and you can find all of the tarot resources that I've put up there, all of the worksheets, the free classes, and that type of thing. If you have not yet, go back and listen to last week's bonus episode. It was a funny one and it was a tragic one at the same time, and I really want to focus and get these tarot podcast episodes finished, at least up until we finish all of the cards, and then we can start. I'll do a little bit more general topics again, and we will also be talking about how to take the knowledge that you have and integrate it in a way that is helpful for you. Okay, that's it. So, how about those fours? In general, the fours are a very stable, practical, rational card, or number, I mean. The cards are typically about real things, realities, sometimes new realizations, but they're also very logical, rational, stable. They involve boundaries, they involve order and planning and organization and all of that type of thing. So you might notice a pattern. It might be a little bit too early, but you will notice a pattern with the numerology. It's almost as if the even numbers are the more stable, constant, predictable numbers, and the odd numbers are the ones that bring us more challenges. And we'll definitely talk about that next week when we talk about the fives. But for now, we're going to talk about the fours, and they're a little bit happier than the fives. We're going to begin with the Four of Pentacles. And the image on the card, again in the Rider-Smith-Waite deck, because that's the one that we've been working from, the image is a wealthy looking man sitting on some sort of throne or chair, not ornate, but you can tell that he's wealthy. And under each foot, he has a pentacle. On top of his head, he has a pentacle. And in his arms, he is cradling a pentacle. And this guy has plenty of money. You can tell he's got plenty of money by looking at him. He's wearing a crown. He's got purple robes on and red robes on, both which are colors of wealth and status. Behind him is a city or a town of some sort. And he just has this sort of, I don't know what kind of look on his face, sort of almost like a passive, I dare you type of look on his face. And because this card is about pentacles, it's about money, right? Or about material things or about physical things, something in that world. Well, the meaning of this card really has a lot to do with being overly concerned with money, holding on to money tightly, maybe having enough but not feeling like you have enough. It could be that you're worried about money. It could be that you're behaving in a way that's just downright stingy, or hoarding, or holding on to that money very, very tightly for some reason because you're just not feeling financially safe. So, in terms of questions that we can ask ourselves, you can tell this guy is definitely holding on to his money when you see how he's got, his two of the only one that he's really not grasping onto is the one on top of his head. But, he's got two planted under his feet and then he's got one. And the way his arms are wrapped around it, there is no way he is letting that thing go. So the question is, why is he being miserly? And that's what we want to know when the card comes up. How does that card, how does it relate to us and our situation and how we're being and how we're experiencing life at the moment? This card offers a lot to us in terms of places that we can poke around, things that we can explore. So what are some of the questions that you might want to be asking yourself? Well, how are you feeling about your current financial situation? Are you overly controlling when it comes to money and finances in this particular situation or in general? Are you feeling a little bit empty because money is not making you feel whole? It's been important to you, but are you finally realizing that it's not the most important thing and it's not going to give you life satisfaction? Are you putting too much emphasis on work and money and too little emphasis on feeding your soul and relationships and the non-tangible things in life? And also, what would it feel like to share some of what I have? This card could be asking you to start exploring what it would mean for you to loosen your grip and share. It could, in a really roundabout way, be an invitation for you to do some things for other people with your money that are not miserly, that are for the benefit of everyone. So basically, this card is asking you to examine your relationship with money, with having enough, with security and control. All right, how about we move on to the Four Cups? The card itself This makes me kind of laugh sometimes. Um, the card itself is a pleasant looking outdoor scene. 3 cups in the foreground standing up. A sulking teenager sitting under a tree with his arms crossed and is looking down. There's a cup being offered to him, and he won't even look at it. He's just being a poop. He's grumpy. He's not satisfied with anything. He's sulking. He wants even more when he already has enough. That's very clear. He's got those 3 lovely cups there and he wants more. But he wants something better because he's not reaching out and taking the one that's there. So this card is all about evaluating. It's about finding ourselves in a position where it's time to reevaluate maybe our goals, maybe our value system, maybe what we want out of life, and stop waiting for somebody else to fix it for us. Figure out for ourselves what's going on and start to deal with it, start to address it. And, it could be something very simple, like a general dissatisfaction with something, right? It's like, oh yeah, this card's coming up because the reading is about my job and I already know that I am not dissatisfied with my job. So this card is coming up to say, yeah, time to find something new because I can't sit here and mope all the time. It's up to me to address the situation. So when the card comes up, and especially if it comes up and it's not fairly evident about why, ask yourself, just in general, how have you been feeling lately? Is there something going on with you that you've been feeling dissatisfied with? If you can say yes, yep, I am feeling dissatisfied, then work to identify what that is. Work to identify your feelings around that dissatisfaction. Are you irritated and dissatisfied, or are you sad and depressed and dissatisfied? Because clearly those 2 different feelings need to be addressed differently. And part of the point of what we're doing here is to help us uncover what's going on inside of us. Take a look at where you are in the areas in your life that are important to you and ask yourself, are you where you want to be? Is this card coming up because you're dissatisfied in relationships or romance or business or work or spirituality or whatever it is? The first thing to do, of course, is to identify where that dissatisfaction lies. And then from that point, once you've done that, then you can start to ask yourself, okay, what? Clearly I'm not satisfied. This card is coming up. I don't totally get it yet. What's going on? Why is this card coming up? And you may even want to pull another card or 2 to help you if, when you have a card that comes up and it's just like, what? I don't get it. I don't get the connection. Certainly don't just automatically whip out another card. But if you have sort of, quote, done the work where you've looked at the card, you have worked at trying to integrate it into your reading, you've worked at trying to identify where it fits into the situation, and there's just not as much clarity as you'd like, you can, of course, draw another card for more clarity. It's something that I would caution you about doing too often. And as a beginner, it can be really tempting to just pull another clarifier, because there's that sense of, I'm not sure I'm right and I want to know for sure. When really the work is the most productive when we don't automatically just jump to the back of the crossword puzzle book kind of thing, which is how I sort of um, look at drawing clarifying cards until they make sense. Because sometimes we have to dig a little bit deeper. Sometimes we have to look inside a little bit more as opposed to expecting the cards to, spell it out for us. All right. Four of Swords. The Four of Swords image is one of, it almost looks like not a sarcophagus, what do you call it? One of those old coffins with a figure on top of it, resting. I'm sorry. I know I should know it's probably a religious thing and I suck at that. So anyway, in the picture, there is a figure, looks like a warrior of sorts, lying prone on top of a slab or a casket or a tomb of some sort. There is a stained glass window in one corner. There are 3 swords hanging on the wall above him. And there is 1 sword below him attached to the tomb that he's lying on. This card could be coming up because you have just lost a battle of some sort. Maybe it was a health battle. Maybe it was a legal battle. Maybe it was just a doozy of an argument with your partner. But this card is coming up because it's telling you that it is time for some rest, that you should not continue on the way you've been going until you had a chance to regroup. It's about having a recovery period. And the sword below is sort of this reminder that this guy has something in reserve. And he might not even realize that he's got that in reserve. But it's that sort of internal fortitude that we all have that we don't know we have until we are forced to know we have it. And it's just a reminder to us that, yeah, you may have lost that last battle, but you have got what it takes. If you are willing to let yourself rest, if you're willing to let your body heal, if you're willing to let your heart heal, whatever it is that needs to have that time and that recovery period, if you can do that, then you will be able to sort of get back up, shake everything off, and move forward in a really positive way. But you have got to take the time to do what your mind and body needs. So clearly the question is, what have you been battling with lately? Have you had a physical battle? Maybe you had COVID. Maybe this card is saying, yep, you had COVID. Thank God you're still here. And do not try to go back out and pick up your life where you left off before you were sick, because you need to take that time to recover. It could be mentally. This card could come up for all of us at the point at which we can ever say that this pandemic is over. This global consciousness pulling the Four of Swords that says, all right, everybody, you did it. You made it through the battle. It's time to rest up. And be aware that that's not all life has to throw at you, right? You need to get strong so you can get out and manage what you need to be able to manage. Emotional issues, spiritual issues, it doesn't matter. Just what have you been battling with? Once you can identify that, of course, that's, sometimes the hardest part is for us to actually really hone in on what's bothering us. And again, preaching to the choir, hopefully, but that's why tarot is a good thing for self-coaching. Okay, so questions. Number 1, what have you been battling lately? Number 2, what can you do to support your own rest and recovery? Does it mean setting boundaries? Does it mean eating differently? Does it mean going to bed earlier? How can you do what you need to do, take it upon yourself to promote your own rest and your own recovery? You might also ask what you can draw on emotionally or spiritually to help you heal. You may be such a spiritual person that it's a no-brainer, where it's like, well, of course, I'm going to lean on my faith of da-da-da-da-da-da. But you also may be someone who doesn't have a really deep faith. So start to look at where you can get some support. And that might be your best friend. It might be, talk therapy over a bowl of noodles. I don't know. It doesn't matter what it is, but where can you get some support? And then again, lastly, remember that sword is there in reserve for you. So you might want to start thinking about, what does that sword look like for me in this situation? Is that an inner strength that I have? Is it a knowledge of something that's going to help me move the situation forward? Taking some time to notice where you can support yourself, to notice where you have more in reserve than you thought maybe you did. I think a lot of times we just kind of run around on autopilot, and we get so tied up in just what's going on in front of us and the day-to-day BS that we don't have that time to just connect, right? And so this card could be saying, hey, it's time to connect. Figure out what it is you want to connect to and do it. Support yourself. Be your own advocate. Okay. We're going to end the fours on the happy four card. The Four of Wands. And this card, the image is just pure joy. It's this golden yellow background. It is 2 women in front of a castle, and they've got bouquets of flowers that they're waving over their head. And behind them, it looks like there's another group of people. In front of them, there are 4 wands that are decorated with swags that, to me anyway, represent fertility. And the general vibe is just one of celebration. And of course, that's what the card means. It is all about celebration. It's all about some sort of culminating activity, like a wedding or a graduation or a ribbon cutting in a community. It can denote accomplishment through teamwork. It tells us or reminds us to be positive and happy and trying to find the joy in the moment. This card is one that it's one of those feel-good cards. There really isn't any negative side to the card, unless you're somebody who reads reversals, and we're not going to even get into that. It's just this like, oh man, I would really like to be there. It's almost like you look at it and you think that's what feeling like being on vacation looks like. but really being on vacation. I mean, when you have truly been able to leave the world behind, it's just this, oh yeah, life is freaking good type of vibe. So you'll notice we talked a little bit about the fours and a little bit about stability, and this is a perfect example of that. This, the symmetry in this card with the 4 wands just oozes stability, right? It's just like boom, 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 boom. Good stuff. Okay, so hopefully when this card comes up, you say, yes, I know I'm very blessed. I know what the situation is. I know why this card is coming up for me. And yes, I'm very happy about that. If you don't know, time to start thinking about it. Maybe there's some joy to be had somewhere that you're not even aware of. Is there something going on, family or community, that you could be involved in that's along these lines, this communal project working toward a common goal? Where would it benefit you to work toward something with others, to be, on a team, to be someone who is depended on, who has a common goal with other people? Is there an opportunity available, or will you have to create one? It could be that this card's coming up to nudge you to say, it's time. It's time for you to get out there. It's time for you to put your mask on, and find the joy where you can find it. So it could be in a way, and we've talked a lot about this. I am not one who believes tarot is a prophetic tool necessarily, but because this is, it's your energy, it's your card, and time is flexible, it could be letting you know that something like this is headed your way, or, that it could be moving in a positive direction. All right. That is the fours. Next week, of course, we will be working on the fives. And yeah, the fives are not so much fun, but we'll get through them. It'll be fine. In the meantime, do your self-coaching, do your journaling, and please don't hesitate to reach out with questions or comments. Again, if you want to check out any of the resources, they are on the New Moxie Coaching website.